Yeah, my computer tells me it is 7 o'clock on the dot.
Here, and Mark Arnold is here.
Okay, I see Mark.
Malone.
Oh, Malone. Okay, got it. All right, there you go. Okay,
Here I am.
got
Here
it.
you
Okay,
are.
we have the players necessary to start the meeting. That being said, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, no in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted at this meeting. Board members will participate in the meeting remotely, as this meeting will be accessible to the public via Zoom, online option. Information is available at the town website. Okay. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the notice of intent of the proposed grading, site work, and stormwater management system associated with a 103-lot residential subdivision titled Bellingham Shores, including the construction of the subdivision roadway located within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands, with proposed filling of 1,757 square feet of isolated vegetated wetlands. The property is located at Assessor's Map 72, lots 13-1, 13-2, 14-0 through 14-17 and 14-16 at South Main Street and Cross Street, Bellingham. Scott Goddard, Goddard Consulting, Main Street, Northborough, has submitted the filing on behalf of Rick Terrell, Bellingham Residential Realty, Corey Drive, Milford. The continuations will be held at the Bellingham, will be held via Zoom on the evening of October 14th at 7 p.m. Okay.
Frank DePietro's here as well.
Frank is here as well.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Hi, Frank. And so we did a quick review on where the commission stands on this project, and there is not a lot of information we require, but we do have a couple of things that we would like to bring up to Sean and Mark. We always tell applicants that we'll provide badges to demarcate the no disturb zone. And then we realized that we'd probably be looking at a couple hundred badges. We don't have that in our budget. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask that you contact our administrator, and she'll give you the company where we buy the badges and ask you to purchase those on your own.
Yeah, that's no problem. That's completely understandable.
That's fine. And we probably want to have something different than what we have anyway. We have no disturb zone badges. We may want to have something like open space or whatever. Maybe Mark has some input to that. I don't know if you had suggested anything on the plans or in the past, Mark?
We hadn't done anything. I mean, we can also discuss and whether or not we want certain ones for certain areas as well. If we're ordering them, we'll be able to customize them. It's not going to change the price significantly. So I think when we get to that point, we can decide which ones we really want to say no disturb, or if we want to add additional language. It's easy to add that to the badge at the time. So I think, again, the badges should just meet the requirements of the conservation agent before they're ordered.
That's reasonable.
We could put COVID hot zone on there. That'd keep people out.
Quarantine.
Stolen crossbones.
Live alligators.
Crossbones.
Snake caution, poisonous snakes.
Neon 12-inch by 12-inch octagonal. That's what you need. Nice and subtle.
Thanks, Mark. We'll
Thanks,
certainly,
Mark.
yeah, we appreciate that.
Okay. And the next thing is that At our last meeting, we had discussed options for land preservation. And I think we had come to the determination that in spite of the fact that there might be difficulties down the road, which maybe we wouldn't be necessarily responsible for, it would be advisable for us to accept the open space in fee. And, the administrator and I have been kicking this around, and we think that a tool that we could use to assist in enforcement of potential violations in the future would be an existing conditions plan, or like a baseline survey, something similar to what you might do to prepare for a conservation restriction, even though there will be no conservation restriction. Let's just say in 10 years, there's a violation. And so now we have a situation where someone can say, oh, well, it was always that way. Well, if we have an existing condition, or if the commission has an existing conditions plan, then they can say, well, no, that wasn't there when the commission took over the property. I don't know what kind of detail. Is there a detail in a conservation restriction?
Well, I think what we're looking for is just a kind of like a general overview of what is out there now. If we have roadways, we have some of the pathways out there. If there are, I think we saw a couple of deer blinds, we have those kinds of things.
Trail cameras and tree stands.
I think that's kind of what we're looking for. I didn't know what your response would be for something like that. Have any comments?
I mean, a CR documentation is a good baseline document, just to document the existing conditions, particularly around the perimeter of a CR. And that usually can include photographs of conditions. And I think if that's done once construction is completed, that will provide really good base documentation of what the edges of the CR look like, particularly around all the houses. And then we can also provide, I think, some level of detail of some of the network of paths along where they intersect the edge of the CR and anything else that's known. Trying to find every tree blind may be more difficult, but if they're seen, we could definitely document them. But there's a lot of ground, and we could definitely do some transects of the area, but you're flying blind when you're on over 50 acres of land. I mean, you could eyeball kind of guess where they're going to be, but I think it'd be pretty reasonable for and not significantly costly for us to do a basics commission baseline report for the commission's land that's completed once at least the land is cleared for the whole project. So that way we know what the edge of the limit of work looks like from a vegetational standpoint. And we can document the edge of the tree line and what the shrubs look like along the edge. And that will help the commission understand if there's any clearing happening along the edge. And then again, understanding what's kind of going on inside with some of the network trails.
That's exactly what we're looking for.
So, that's what we were very interested in. It would be very helpful to us to have something. And so you're suggesting that once the area is cleared for the construction.
Either cleared or at the end when things are kind of stabilized, because documenting it before construction is going to be very hard to see a change, because the clearing changes the way you look at a forest. When you take a photograph, it's hard to see the difference. But if it's cleared, you can clearly see the edge of the trees. You can see the trunk line. That will help you really understand where the disturbance expanded from. Doing like a baseline report right now, it'd be difficult to see the changes possibly, because again, the clearing is it may be different from what you even imagine when you take a picture of it, just because your angle might be off by a few degrees. So I think a baseline report would need to be done definitely after at least the clearing was done, if not after stabilization. If the stabilization would be better because the markers will be up, things like that, that might be more helpful. So wherever the commission thinks that should land, I think it's workable, but I would definitely suggest that we don't document photographically anything until at least the limit of clearing has been established, so that way we can document the edge of forest, which is the biggest concern, is a bunch of people clearing, dumping, brush cutting, and making paths into the conservation land.
So the transfer of land will be around that same time or a little bit afterwards?
It could be. We can definitely transfer the land. I mean, and Shauna, maybe you could opine on this, whether or not the land, it'd be better for us to manage all the land until the end, because that puts us on liability on everything. And that way we're responsible for all the land. And then at the end, then we transfer the property. I mean, there could be some sort of documentation that's provided to just confirm that's going to happen, or, but again, I mean, whatever the commission's comfortable with. I'm not sure how the commission's done with other CRs, whether or not that's usually it's at the end of a project. But either way, I think definitely, I mean, yeah, it's going to be in the order of conditions that it has to be, all the information has to be submitted prior to a COC being issued.
Exactly. Right.
And we can, I mean, again, you could also deed over the land and have a condition that the applicant's responsible for protecting that land until a COC is issued, possibly. That could be something that, because the applicant's going to be policing the area already for the construction area, and they could just, Sean, that could be something we could offer, and at least during the, we could definitely make sure the land's protected until the COC is issued.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anybody in the commission have any thoughts on that?
Well, I was thinking that maybe some drone shots might not be a bad idea to include with that. I do have a drone, so.
So, you know, I suppose that once the land clearing's taken effect, supplementary visual aid, you know, additional to photographs, you know, overhead drone footage might, Brian would have to coordinate with you, Mark. Is that a problem?
No, or it just might be an excuse for me to buy a drone.
Permission granted. Charge it to Scott.
One thing I think this all makes a lot of sense, and it's typical of, you know, land transfers and land donations. And we certainly do appreciate the efforts on the applicant's part to cooperate with the town on this land donation. It's very good. So one of the things I wanted to ask was, and I apologize, Mark, but on the open space plan, do you actually have bounds marked? I think you did. Do you have bounds marked on the open space?
Yes, and I'll answer that. And yes, we do. And you know, so the open space will be the property corners, which would be bound, as well as the badge, and then we're adding the intermediate badge along the property line.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have it the corners of the lot it abuts, as well as the intermediate spot. So, and as you pointed out, we probably have a couple hundred of those markers going out there.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
we're used to giving applicants 3 or 4.
Yeah, it should be pretty clear to people.
Good. Okay, and the only issue I have remaining, and once I get to this, and I'm going to ask for, you know, Jim's opinion on this, and then I'm going to ask Frank a couple of questions. It's the stormwater annuity. Now, the town has a bylaw whereby which sum of money is donated to the town in an attempt to offset future maintenance costs for maintaining stormwater structures. So I don't know if, Sean, I don't know if you're familiar with that, if you've heard of it.
Yes.
You have,
I am.
okay.
Yes.
I don't know, have you done any work with the planning board relative to that?
Only as much as it has been talked about. I'm trying to recall. I know Jim and I talked about this a month or two ago, and I can't remember, Jim, if you sent me a form on that or not, but
Yeah,
that is something we're anticipating.
yeah. I gave some standard language to Sean and Attorney Roloffs to just give them a better understanding. But typically, what the planning board does as it gets close to decision time, we send the plans over to DPW for a cost estimate, so that we can put it in the decision.
Okay, so that's what we'd have to do.
We can do that, or Sean, you can, jump the gun and speak directly with Don DiMartino, present them with the plans, because we do the same thing. And what we usually do, or what our procedure is, that at the pre-construction meeting, we require proof of the bond being posted.
Actually, excuse me, I just wanted to correct that. So we would just make sure that you had your replication bond posted. I think the stormwater bond would be posted, yes, after we had,
Certain number of
when you're ready to,
occupancies.
when you're ready, yeah. I have to look into it, but after a period of time, once things have been constructed, I think
Okay.
that's generally how it works.
That's it.
And just to be clear, I'm assuming this, but I'm assuming we're talking one bond that covers both
That's correct.
Conservation Commission condition and the planning board.
That is correct, yeah. So
Yes,
we
okay.
can clarify that, fine. Yes, we do a joint thing, so that's for the town, yes.
Yes, of course, yeah.
It was a policy that the commission developed about 25 years ago. And it worked voluntarily until we had an applicant who said, no, it's a policy. We don't have to adhere to it. So now it's a bylaw.
Makes sense.
Okay, I think that's all that the commission has to deal with. I was going to ask Frank if there are any outstanding issues that he thinks that we should be concerned about.
No, I mean, I think you saw it was a September 8th letter. We had some suggestions about the material and geotech input for the core of the berms. I think if they're fine with that, that's fine. One minor comment on the sort of the creating the observation. I would wonder if when you do the drone flight, if you do it maybe after the leaves are off, because that picks up, I don't know how dense the vegetation, but it might pick up blinds or other things that you might not normally see. And again, I'm presuming, and Sean or Mark tell me to stop. I'm presuming that it's a visual type thing. It's not a real on the ground survey. You want the drone pictures so you can physically, visually compare them, not a plan. You already have a plan that shows the topography of the area and stuff like that. I don't think you want to go into detail other than trails you might find or the perimeter.
Yeah, what we'll do is we have the existing conditions plans, and then we'll do on ground photographs of the edges,
Yeah.
and then we can add a sketch showing where those photos are, so that way the commission can research and say, okay, I want to look at this area of the site. It's these photos here, and then on top of that, we can do if the commission wants, we could definitely do a drone footage. And I agree. I mean, prior to leaf out or late fall is the best time because you get to see a lot more features. You get to see the size of the trees better. You see how large the trees are, the number of trees, and you can see other features a lot more clearly. And it's easier to document those kind of conditions. So I would agree that, yeah, best time to document is without leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay,
I'm set though.
Great,
all right.
thank you, Frank.
A question for Jim. When is your next continuation with the planning board? And what's the status there?
Yep. So we were going to meet last Thursday. As you guys know, we're kind of off schedule between commission and planning board. So we were going to meet with them last week. Sean had requested a continuation. So we, unfortunately, we're not really able. We're meeting shortly on October 22nd for some administrative items, but we'll be meeting in person on November 12th. So that's when it's continued to. The board's pretty close as well. There was a few small items still remaining in terms of landscape, the landscape area of the triangle that I'm working with Sean on, and a few items regarding conditions that Sean and I are working through some language on, as well as inputting Frank's suggestions for some conditions for geotech that will certainly be kind of sculpting or molding over time. So we're pretty close, but the next time they discuss this will be on November 12th.
Okay. So,
Okay. So
so that's good.
we would be looking at, we had spoken at our last meeting about if we had an opportunity to start developing special conditions. Please, Sean and Mark, don't ask us for the special conditions before they're issued, because we don't do that. But
Would we be able to see them in the office, maybe?
well, no, you'll see them after the order is issued, but based on the information that was provided here, we'll give you the same assurance that we do to other proponents of major projects. There'll be no surprises. There'll be nothing, because we've hammered out all of our issues. It's not like in certain situations where
Oh, I don't expect anything sneaky. I just like to make sure that there's no mistakes that are for both sides' benefit, and that's always why I like to just glance through it, just to make sure that there's all the dates are correct, and there's nothing that could be a glitch later on that causes confusion to someone who doesn't know the project. That's my main concern. So I trust you not to put anything in there that you haven't discussed. You've been good with us.
Yeah, we don't do that. But I can understand you're looking for it's a matter of procedure, but we also, it's our policy not to do that, and we work really hard to make sure that there are no errors. And if there are errors, there's always a provision in the order that says, changes can be made, minor changes can be made if it's warranted by mutual assent. So I think we'll be okay. So I think what we're going to do this time, we have to be a little more serious. And we have had an enormous amount of work to do for the proponent of this project. It seems like 80% of the work we're doing is for Fafford. And so we will start working on this, but I think we will continue and we'll go to,
Thanks.
are we going to go to the 4th? It will be,
That makes sense. I mean,
makes sense to me.
does that make sense to you? We could go to November 4th, because our October 28th meeting is just booked solid.
So November 11th.
Well, actually, it's going to be the 4th, because November 11th is a holiday and we're not meeting that night.
Understood. Yeah, no, that sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
Our hands are going to be tied up somewhat because we have a lot of upcoming holidays and town meeting. And so it's looking, as busy as we are with 20 plus open applications, it's looking like one meeting in November and one meeting in December. We're not going to meet the day before Thanksgiving, and we're not going to meet the day before Christmas. So we'll put you on the 4th. Hopefully we'll make some progress toward developing special conditions and the main body of the order. And that way, if we're able to close then, at least we'll be close enough, to get it done in 21 days.
Yeah, no, that sounds great, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate that.
I do have to say that we do appreciate your efforts to keep the buffer zone clear of impacts. It means a lot to us, and I just wanted you to. I wanted to recognize that.
Thank you.
I would go so far as to say that, your cooperation in that has been extraordinary. and we do appreciate it.
Thank you for saying so.
So, that being said, what time do we go, Jane?
Well, we have this one on at 7, so maybe 20 minutes for some.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of November 4th at 7:20.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That's a unanimous vote, and we have 7 members present. Mark, if you would stick around,
Thank you. Thank
please.
you.
Will do. Staying.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much, all. Have a good night.
Thanks,
you,
Sean.
Take care, Sean. Good job.
Bye.
John.
Thanks, Frank.
Sure.
You can certainly stay on if you want, but I just wanted to recognize that.
Okay, well, I'll sit for a little bit, but then I'll.
Okay, terrific.
He's going to give us a history lesson. The cartoon that's behind him. Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't see the faces, but that's okay. Okay. So, wanted to speak with Mark. He's been, everybody remembers the 155 Hartford Avenue site?
Actually, it's 4:50.
455, sorry.
That's okay.
455 Hartford Avenue. This is the site where the cutting occurred in the no build zone, right up to the edge of the no disturb zone. This is next to, yeah,
Rosewood.
Rosewood, thank you. And as part of the hearing, we were able to preserve a like amount of square footage in a similar zone as to that which was altered. Well, the property's been sold. A new owner wants to proceed with development, and a certificate of compliance request was requested from Goddard Engineering, and as part of that, Ian and I went out and did a quick review, and there were posts up and no badges, and so Mark went out to hang the badges and move the posts, and we have a situation that is very unusual because we were under the impression and we were informed that the posts had been located by survey. And now Mark went out and moved them based on what he thought field conditions were.
Oh, it wasn't field conditions. It was based on the wetland delineation and triangulation. There were more posts put out there than the plan shows. And there's still more posts out there along that line than were proposed. And so I triangulated them off the wetland flags that are still in place out there to make sure they were there. And some of them are maybe a little further out than they're supposed to be. If some of them are loose, I'm glad to go out there and hammer them in with a sledgehammer. That's the only thing I didn't have. But they're all driven in at least 2 feet by myself. The tags are all bolted onto the posts. You can't rip them off. They're very securely put on the posts. And so I did request to meet out on site multiple times and told I was flexible. And then I wasn't asked to join the last site walk, which would have helped at least understand if there was confusion with it. So I guess to the chair, what exactly, are the locations, I know the locations based on the stakes may be confusing, but based on the pull-offs, it's correct. And if you look at this plan and you look at the site conditions, it makes sense versus the original locations. The original posts were posted along the edge of the clearing, which is not where the plan shows. The plan shows them interior to the forest. And that's why the posts were located where they were. And again, I located them off multiple wetland flags to make sure I was in the right location. And then the badges did go up. We are going to have a plan on record as well. It's being recorded at the Registry of Deeds to show these areas and to confirm that they're never going to be disturbed as well. So if the posts need to be driven harder, I understand that. Some of them were a little looser than I would have liked. I just didn't have a sledgehammer with me, but I'm glad to go out there with a sledgehammer and make sure they're driven a little deeper to come out. And these posts are at least a little more obvious than trees, I have to say. And since someone going out there is going to know a post with a sign is definitely something you shouldn't touch versus a tree badge. So I think we do have a nice set here in the sense that we have posts up in exact locations to kind of help demarcate that. And again, if we need to drive them a little deeper, we can do that. But that was the situation that I came to. I was very careful because I wanted to make sure they were in the right locations. Some of them were in the right location. Some of them needed to be put in the right location. And so that's why they were located where they were located. And that's why the badges were hung on the posts that are out there and not on other posts. It was because those
it was confusing to us, Mark, because when we were out there like 3 times, and we went out there and there were stakes, which we had assumed, which is always a dangerous thing, but we had, Gary and Helen had put a no disturb zone stake in the ground. So we were using those stakes as an indication of where these posts should have been installed. And this is where all the confusion has taken place, because we understood that the previous owner, I believe he had Gary and Helen go out there and survey these locations. So this is what the confusion is. And we do appreciate the fact that a site walk would be very beneficial to resolve this. But, you know, having been out there 3 times already, we're kind of like, okay.
I fully understand that. I just want to let Mr. Chairman know that, I mean, I wanted to be at the last site walk. I requested, I sent an email.
Yes, I know that, Mark,
Yep.
but you know, we were just so inundated. It was raining that morning, and we just said, let's go out there and see what we have. It may be okay. Usually it is. Usually it is.
I know, and I just wish I could have had a call, because again, we have multiple staff members that can get out to sites quickly, and I just would have made things easier. Even if you just gave us notification that it was happening, that would have been at least appreciated. Just to know, okay, even if we can't make it out there, at least we know they're going to do it today. That's just as from an applicant's perspective, it's just helpful to know that, especially when I reached out so many times.
And typically, Mark, you know, when we understand that something is marked appropriately, it's just a matter of us going out there and confirming it. So I understand where you're coming from, but I ask you to understand respectfully where we're coming from as well.
So the big issue that I have is based on the plan of record. The distance between the stakes that are to the eastern part of the site and the property line are about 40 feet. And so when we are out in the field, it seems like they're 60 or 70 or even more feet away from the property line. So what
which part of the property line are you referring to? Because I'm looking at the plan right now as well.
So if you look to the east, actually it's kind of like the southeast, the property line, it's Bastrash, the Bastrash and Clark properties.
Yep.
Okay. If you lay a scale on it, it's about 40 feet from the property line, between 40 and 50 feet. But when we were out in the field, it was over that. So,
and is that based on, what is that based on? Is that based on the staked out property line that's actually done there? Because their property line back there is staked out.
Well, what we based it on was the distance between where the poles were and there was a fence along the property line, and we figured plus or minus 5 feet. But
yeah, I don't believe that fence is on the property line, because I know that property line is staked out. So if you look at the northeasternmost post that was supposed to be signed is right on the property line in the corner. And I know that was there, and the reason why I knew that was because I actually was walking in that area and I found that they had staked out the property line actually.
Okay.
And they had multiple stakes along it. So I knew exactly where the property line was. So when I was triangulating that location off the wetland flags, I also made sure that I was hitting the property line when I put that post in right there, to make sure I was actually outside the buffer zone, right there on the property line. That's where that post was put in. So I know that property line is staked out. So, and a fence is, although often good, isn't necessarily the greatest thing. And that's why, again, I wish I'd come out there because again, I pulled the tape off these wetland flags, 50 feet, 100 feet, triangulated off multiple flags to make sure I wasn't making a mistake here. That's where they landed. So I'm fairly confident that they're accurate, and I don't think it's necessary to pay a surveyor to go correct that. If we go out there with a tape, they'll match up.
That's exactly what I'm proposing. And because this was a violation, and the commission, there was some angst involved here. And so I'm going to suggest that members of the commission come out with us to make the determination with you in the field. I think I would be much more confident, comfortable having multiple eyes from the group on it.
I'm glad to.
Of course.
Excellent.
Of course.
So that's what we would like to do is schedule this for a Saturday, the 24th, if we could do that.
Yeah, I cannot do this the 24th. I'm sorry, I'm away. Can we do it on Halloween? I don't know if people are being on Halloween, but
There might be witches out there.
it's my brother's birthday, but I'll go walk with the Bellingham Conservation Commission.
We will be wearing masks.
We'll play the part.
The 31st?
That would be the 31st. Okay, what kind of availability does the commission have for going out on the 31st? Anybody
I'm a
available?
little old for trick or treating, so I'm
The thought
available.
doesn't spook me. I'm available.
So Ariane says she's in, Mike is in, Brian, Neil, Mark, you're gonna have to deal with the bulk of us.
Yep.
All right, so I'm thinking if we do that at like 8:30, we'll go out. It's not a filing. We just want to make sure that the boundaries are in the right mark. We don't need to have another survey. We agree. We just want to make sure it's right.
Yep.
We want to make sure that the plan that we have is the plan that was recorded. And the other thing is that there's one other area that was not staked out that we could not find. This is an area, it was only 4 stakes, I believe.
3.
It was 3
Yeah,
stakes.
They're out there.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
So
because
Unless someone moved them, and I put all 3 there, and I was there for quite a while.
okay,
Just
well, one of,
making sure I got the locations right. They're there, and I'm glad to show you where they are because
perfect.
I walked around this site for quite a few hours to make sure I got this right. So I'm glad to walk it, but they are there. At least I put them there. I put the posts in, I drilled the holes, and I tightened those nuts down so those signs didn't come off.
We did see that. We
One
did
of
see
them is
how well
gone.
secured
But
those
one of
signs
them's
were.
gone.
One of them is?
Yeah, one of them's gone.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah.
No, one of the posts had a hole in it because I had to move the sign to another post. If you want more signs up on the other posts, bring them and I will put them up for you so we can have more signage along the edge where the posts are. I'm glad to put more. I just need more markers. I wanted to put more markers up on the extra posts, but I didn't have extras. So if you bring extra markers, I have a drill. We'll put them up.
Okay.
We'll bring some
sounds good.
stainless steel hardware, right?
All right, that's good.
Okay.
Great.
8:30 on October 31st. I will see you there.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What's the address on that?
455. It's right next to the Rosewood.
455
Yeah.
Hartford Avenue.
455. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the last time we were out as a group, we parked at the garage across from the Rosewood, and they did not appreciate it, and they blocked our cars in with heavy equipment, so we couldn't get out.
So don't park there.
So park there unless you knock on the door and ask if you can do that. But Rosewood, I believe, is closed for the season, so we can park there. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you
Mark,
so much. Appreciate it. Good night.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Yeah.
Okay. We have, I'm sorry,
Is somebody talking?
somebody talking? Or is it feedback from
I think I'm all set. I'm going to take off, folks. So have a good evening.
Frank, thank you
Thanks,
very much.
Frank.
We'll be
You're
in touch.
welcome. Take care
Bye,
now.
Frank.
Bye.
So we have a couple of minutes to
Boy,
approve.
they're gone. Phew.
I'll tell you what,
Oh, wait.
that was a difficult site to begin with, 455.
Mhm.
But when Annie and I went out there and the vegetation was chest high
Oh.
and you could not see the ground,
And it was pouring rain.
it's pouring rain and there were logs left in place and holes. We fell a half a dozen times just getting to the back of the site. What a mess.
It was-
I've never been that wet. Oh, yeah, okay. Things we do.
Okay.
So we have minutes to approve from August 26th and September 9th. I'll defer to our minute maven to see if there are any suggestions, difficulties, or problems.
Which one are you starting with? August 26th?
August 26th.
I have two questions.
Okay.
We're listening.
Okay. First off, is Amy adding color to make sure we pay attention? Mine was yellow for about the middle section on the Mill Street. I didn't know if there was something in particular about the chairman communicated with. This was on page 5.
Page 5. Hold on.
Yellow?
About
Oh.
there it goes.
Gee, mine's just gray.
Not everything's black and white. Sometimes it's gray, I guess. Well, the other thing was just above that. I mean, I don't really care about the coloration, but above that in the application type for that continuation hearing, it's got a DEP number that's got a gap there. I don't know if we were going to fill that in after. We didn't have a DEP number. Usually you have something for that.
Okay, so this is.
That was before the file number had been issued, isn't it?
Yes, probably.
The file number was, we
Hold on.
opened the,
Hold on, let me see if I can find a file number. Hold on.
it has been issued subsequent to that meeting.
So this is for 6 North, yeah. Where's my agenda?
Yeah, let me take this from you.
If you have your agenda, just look on 6 North Main Street on the next file. A minute. No, I don't have it on.
We still don't, no,
Okay, well, there is a number, we just don't have it written down, so sorry.
Okay, well, in the yellow section that was continuing to be highlighted on page 6, it says the same thing for the next hearing too. I just didn't know if there was something about the DEP numbers, the Mechanic Street and Mill Street.
Okay, so that one was not issued yet.
Okay, all right. I figured it would be caught up eventually. It wasn't that huge a deal, but I just thought I'd ask because I didn't know if there was something about the yellow highlight that caught my eye, and I was like, oh, is there something we don't know?
So all you need to do is remove that yellow highlight, I would imagine.
Whatever. I don't think it'll bother most people. I think that was it for that.
Gee, going easy tonight, Mike.
Oh, at the very end, last page. Page 8. Member Wade under General Business. Member Wade wanted to know who is upkeeping the freight lines near the Charles River since there was a pretty significant sand washout near the Charles River, near the trail on High Street. Oh, railroad track of sand. The commission will visit this site during the next site visit. I didn't know if that had happened. I don't remember going there. Do we need to? It was like point of information. Do we still need to go out there?
well, we're gonna have to still go out and take a look at that. When we were out there on Mill Street a week ago Saturday, we neglected to take a look at that.
Oh, so that's the area off of Mill when we were walking up and down there? I thought it says near the trail on High Street. I thought it was like somewhere else off of High Street.
Well, the ATVs have cut a trail across the Charles River. I think, Sean, that's what you're talking about, right?
No, I was talking about the railroad tracks near the Charles River Trail off of High Street near the baseball fields. It was an Eagle Scout project some years ago.
Right, I remember that.
Softball fields, okay.
Yeah,
Where you put the bridge in, Sean?
yeah, where that makeshift bridge is right up there.
But that was a muddy area, it wasn't sandy, so I didn't know where you meant. So I'm trying.
Yeah, if you go up the hill from the makeshift bridge that crosses the Charles, there's the freight lines and all the tracks are washed out.
Okay, so
Wow. I'm surprised that Keolis doesn't find that when they're doing their vegetative management protocol.
yeah.
Right. And maybe they have since then, but
Well, you know what? So you can get to it from the Mill Street side, and that's what I had anticipated.
Oh, okay.
But we're going out on, we have another couple of things. We have a certificate of compliance request, and we have a couple of things that need to be signed. Do you think we can we wait that long
For what?
to sign this?
Fox Pond Drive. I don't think there's any big rush.
I can sign it.
Yeah, if maybe the board should just vote to let you sign it. So we have a voucher. We bought some ink cartridge and some supplies. And I was going to have you guys sign it. What else is on here? I don't even remember. There was some toner and some rubber bands and that kind of stuff.
Rubber band man.
Two different toners for two different printers. And I was going to have you sign the voucher.
So I'll entertain a motion to allow the chairman to sign the voucher.
Or you can go down and vote and do it at the same time.
You can do that.
I'll carry my mail-in ballot.
Well, they start tomorrow, right? Or
You can bring your mail-in ballot anytime you want.
no, in-person vote.
I haven't even got
It
mine.
already started.
In person at town hall? I don't think so.
It started Saturday, didn't it?
In person starts this Saturday.
Oh, this Saturday.
Okay.
Whatever you guys want to do.
Whatever you wanna do.
sign the
Or,
voucher, fine. If you
can
want to
sign
sign
it. That's fine.
I will second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to allow me to sign. We have a second discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So then what we'll do is when we go out to 455, then we will also inspect 71 Box Pond Drive. It's a septic repair. Everything looked pretty good. And required that they pull out the sediment erosion control, and they did, and they threw it into the 25-foot no disturb zone. Yeah,
At 71.
wasn't it? That's right, 71 Box
Okay,
Pond Drive.
71 Box Pond Drive is all set right now. I thought we were talking, I thought we were talking about going to the site that Mike was questioning in the minutes.
Well, I figured we could do 3 things.
I don't think it's necessary to go to 71 Box Pond
Oh,
Drive, but you're
okay.
certainly welcome to go. They preserved the 25-foot no disturb zone. I've been out there a couple of times. I just checked again. They had taken the silt fence down and the hay bales, and they threw the stakes in the no disturb zone. So I contacted their representative. I said, get
That
the
was a big
stakes.
mistake.
I mean, it's just, everything's okay now. I just want the applicant to be aware that that is a no disturb zone now.
All right, so we don't have to go there. So what we can do is we can go to the end of Mill Street and walk down to where that bridge is and see if the washout's still there, right? We can get there from Mill Street, right, Sean?
Yeah, I should be able
Okay. So we'll just add that to the list along with any other 3 or 4 things that we come up with.
So are we accepting the minutes of the
So
26th?
are we accepting the minute? How about September 9th? The minutes for September 9th, Mike? Muted.
Yeah, 1 second. I had a question. Let me jump to it. Scrolling. Oh, page 3. Top sentence. The commission would like the 100-foot buffer zone along the lake should be preserved. I think you probably just want to say the commission would like the 100-foot buffer zone would like to be preserved, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then so like 2 sentences later, the town may consider something like a payment in lieu. Is that what it wasn't like you were talking today with Bellingham Shores, right? That was payment of land or
No, it's a payment. I think Jim could explain that better. It's a payment in lieu of transfer of property. I think that's what the situation was. This is for that triangular shaped piece.
And I think it's one of those things that the planning board still has to talk about with the applicant for Bellingham.
Right. Yep. So it's the discussion point for instead of them landscaping that northern triangle area where Candlelight and Silver Lake there's that problem basin, and then up gradient, there's that hill. Well, they devastated that area, so we said, well, the planning board had stated that they're interested in, rather than them landscaping that area, because of their track record, we may prefer them to provide funds for us to landscape that area in the future, as opposed to them. So that's the payment in lieu of doing the activity.
Okay, I didn't, the in lieu caught me. I was like, in lieu of what? Okay, now that you say that, I think I do remember us discussing it or thinking about that.
You want to put a little clarification in there for the minutes, or is that sufficient?
Whatever you think, payment in lieu of whatever doing the work, or however Jim thought that should be phrased.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we can. Amy, you there?
Transferring property.
Yeah, I can figure it out. No issues. I think we've got it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Thanks.
Not a big deal.
Thank you.
Sure, Amy.
Okay.
That's it. I'm good.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of August 26th and September 9th as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So our next meeting, just so everybody knows, we have 12 hearings on. We're meeting once in November, and that's going to be jammed, and we're meeting once in December
Why are we meeting on the 23rd
of,
December?
I don't know.
That's 2 days before Christmas.
Oh.
wait a minute. Is it?
Well, Christmas is traditionally on the 25th.
Just for the last couple of years, Neil. It's a new thing. Come on.
I don't know the answer to that because I haven't looked that far.
The chairman made some comment that we weren't going to meet the day before Christmas.
He did say that.
I did not have.
This is 2 days before.
Didn't have the calendar in front of me.
That's okay. I'm on vacation that week.
Right, so we'll keep that. We'll keep that in. We'll keep that as an option and see what happens.
That might take some of the stress off.
There's been a lot of that lately.
But we only had one tonight. That's weird.
Isn't that weird? We're making up for it next time.
Feast or famine?
So we have our next meeting, we have the Red Mill, we have the roadway at Mill Street, and we have the Red Mill, and then we have 10 Faffords.
Okay.
So eat hearty, drink well.
Well, those 10 Faffords, Mr. Chair, are these ones that they don't have permits for? Because no.
The lot lines, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but in principle, the ZBA has agreed to the lot lines, just has to sign the paperwork. So the reconfigured lot lines will be accepted.
Yeah, so the zoning board has voted to in favor of allowing that minor modification to adjust the lot lines with the caveat or the condition that there's a couple of different conditions, but the one main one for the commission here is that they would provide us with a recorded set of the new lot lines, which I'm working with the zoning board to finalize the signatures on. As you guys know the issues there. And then once we do that, they'll go get it recorded in a copy to us. But also we've asked for a full plan set to the commission, the zoning board, DEP, and DPW, meaning, the full comprehensive permit that has all the different sheets for grading and stormwater management and all that to have the new lot line. So we're not just sticking sheets in. So that's taken a little bit of time as well. But overall, the zoning board has voted in favor of that. So those are the new lot lines that you guys have in front of you.
And those new lot lines are all identified as A lots. So it'll be lot 72A, 74A. So we're making sure that I put that in here as we move along so that we're all referring to the right lot lines as they have been revised.
Seems like a lot of trouble, but I got a question for you. Jim, I thought that there was a moratorium hold on any kind of future building or sorry, not building, any kind of approval of permits by the ZBA until they had cleaned up phase 1 septic and other stuff.
Yep.
But
No,
these 10 the lines that we're looking at, is that new lots that they want to now have permits for?
No, you're right the first time. It's so the zoning board has the discretion over the comprehensive permit. So, the things such as like the NOI that's before you, that's separate and distinct. So we work with the zoning board's task is to, and mission is to guide building permits and the building inspector. So the zoning board has issued a request to the building inspector to cease and desist issuing any further building permits until such time as the drainage at Candlelight and Silver Lake is corrected to the town's approval, and that's what that notice of intent that's before you, I believe, next hearing for the basin. Well, it's supposed to be for the basin will take place. So yes, you're right in that no building permits for phase 2 whatsoever. However, I will note that has been appealed to the Housing Appeals Committee at the state level. So we're watching that see its way through.
But am I wrong, and just trying to make sure I understand, am I wrong that they can't bring to the Conservation Commission for NOIs or anything else plot or for properties, lots that are not going to be or not in permitted for building permits, correct?
They are allowed to submit to Conservation Commission. That's a separate and distinct type of permit. They're not allowed to receive any type of building permit, however, for those lots. So you may issue a notice of intent, but nothing's getting constructed anytime soon.
It kind of feels like we're giving them something where, I mean, why should we spend the effort looking at sites that they're not going to get permission to build on until they fix something that we care about, stormwater and other things, on a part of the property they did get permission for? It seems like we're rewarding them to continue pushing their process forward any way they can and take up our time reviewing stuff that ultimately we may have to do that if they get stuff fixed up. But I don't know.
It's that pesky state law, Mike.
Yes.
Home rule.
So, Mike, just to clarify the situation, we would not accept the application if the lot line didn't exist. But the reconfiguration of the lot line by the zoning has been approved by the zoning board. They haven't signed the paperwork, but at a public meeting, they've agreed that the lot line reconfiguration can occur. The notice of intent that comes to us, we'll hear it, we'll issue an order of conditions, but the order will say very clearly, you can't start construction on the lot till you get the building permit. So the zoning board is doing their part to make sure everything gets done properly. And believe me, I'm very thankful that the zoning board is taking a little more aggressive stance in this. And from our perspective, we put into our permit that they have to adhere to the zoning board oversight in this. So also from our perspective, these things are stacking up. So if we hear them, we issue the permit, and some of these are, minor incursions into the 80 to 100 foot buffer zone. So they're not going to be very difficult. We can get them off our plate. Even if it's a very easy hearing for us, administratively, for Ann, it's a nightmare because she has to intake them, look for their completeness, then she has to advertise them, and she has to post everything, and then we have to hear them, and then there's the development of the order of conditions. A lot of work. So,
but more importantly, Mike, the bottom line is, even though they have an order of conditions, they can't do they cannot construct anything without a building permit.
Right.
And that's the key here. And we have to obviously stick to the way the law is written, as Neil so delicately put it.
Pesky's pole. All right.
Oh, Neil's not pesky. He's a nice guy. Thanks.
Okay. So is there anything else? All right, so, I guess,
Okay, so the only,
Whoop,
wait,
whoop.
there is something. So we did get a certificate of compliance request for the Charles River Center retaining wall.
that's what it was.
We thought that, well, the chairman and I talked about it, we thought maybe that our commission would like to participate in that sidewalk just to see what they've done with the site, because you'll be the ones that are signing the certificate. And we also have a certificate of compliance request for Hartford Village 2. Now, I haven't taken the time to really go through the order of conditions. I know that there's some issue with possibly stabilization of the septic field. However, that's out of the buffer zone. The big part to the Hartford Village 2 that's jurisdictional to us is the stormwater management system. So just suggesting that maybe the commission would like to take a walk and with us to look at those two as you would be signing the certificate.
On Halloween, maybe.
What a treat. Is the
I
Hartford
got a trick.
Village 2 up by the chicken coops condos?
It's the chicken coops.
Okay.
Chicken coop too.
Yes.
Chicken coop too, that is
And
correct.
they're much
Wait,
bigger
where I
coops
live?
too, by the way.
Yeah. You don't feel as cooped up. Yeah, I know.
No.
That's a
A
good
lot of old hens there, isn't it?
So I think that
Exactly.
for some of these issues that are relatively simple, the permits that are simple, administrator and I will go out, we'll inspect, make a recommendation. But I think in these issues, it would be appropriate to take a look and see the final status of these areas before we sign. And if we're going out on the 31st anyway, yeah.
Yeah, if you can.
And they're all in the same neck of the woods,
Yeah.
very close to Medway.
If you're interested, yeah. If you're interested.
All roads lead to Medway, Cliff.
All right.
All right, so we'll put that down for the 31st then.
Okay.
Excellent, good. Very good.
Anybody have any other issues?
I got one, show and tell.
Show and tell.
Ooh. Who's that guy in the picture, though?
Eversource, oh.
Oh,
Oh,
there's a new boy in town.
It's like the guy from Parks and Rec.
I thought I saw that hanging in the post office.
Oh, good one, Brian.
Could
All
have
right.
been.
I want to thank everybody. We had full attendance tonight. It's gratifying.
So 455 Hartford Avenue on the 31st.
That's correct.
Okay, they'll start off there at 8:30.
Yep, and after that, 245 Hartford Avenue, Charles River Center.
But don't forget October 28th,
Yes, next meeting.
our next meeting.
What? Okay, sure.
Thank you,
Okay.
folks.
All right.
A
Thanks.
motion
you,
to
Jim.
adjourn. All in favor?
I moved second.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Amy.
All right.
Thanks,
Good
Jim.
night.